here with Hunting Hearts. Hi guys.
Oh.
Would you guys like to just give us a bit of background on the band? Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Us. Okay, so we're an LGBT plus promoting punk rock band from Southampton, and our mission is to share with everyone that it's perfectly normal to be whoever you want to be, and we do that through playing some awesome music.
How long have you guys been going?
So we originally formed in 2018, around sort of September, October time. Started off with Beck and Devin sort of getting together, playing some music, and then reaching out for fellow musicians in the LGBT community. I sort of popped my hand up and said, "Oh, I play guitar," so I came along. Then a little bit later, we did a hunt for a drummer. That was probably like early 2019, and then that's when we brought Matthew into the fold.
Into the fold.
It's well, the funny thing about Lucy is she said that she played folk.
Yes.
And me and Beck were like, oh, well, we'll see what happens.
We'll absolutely see what happens. But I was like, having been an acoustic singer-songwriter for the best part of 2 years before that, I was like very aware that I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Lucy came in the first practice, and like I had sent her some tracks, and she came in and she was like, right, I've written this, and then she just closed her eyes and played the whole thing and like was dancing around, and I was like, this is this. I want this, all of this.
That's so amazing. It's really nice that it's interesting, isn't it, when people get together who have different influences, but it just kind of works and it just kind of meshes and people kind of fit,
Yeah, we all come from like super different backgrounds in music, which is really cool because it means that the way that we relate to each other is through the music, and there's kind of like, it makes that connection very pure because there's no kind of like, oh, we're talking the same language because we both like this thing. It's more, we're talking the same language because we like the same thing differently, which I think is in essence a really interesting sort of like analogy for the way that humans interact anyway. So I really love that that's the way that we communicate with each other.
Yeah, and it's the way your audience will communicate with you, because everyone likes different things, as an audience. So if you guys are coming together from a point of view of you like different things to create something, it's more likely to communicate with more people in a way.
Yeah, I think we've found that the kind of the cross section of our fan base is everyone's so different.
Mm.
We seem to be the thing that they have in common, which is really cool. Like, what?
It's a broad age range.
Yeah, like age, like social background, like gender and sexuality, and just so different. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of that.
That's a really lovely thing to have a really wide spreading fan base that covers so many different people and brings them together. That's what music's about for me anyway. And that's what I feel you guys are about as well, because you have a very strong message as a band, don't you?
Yes.
We hope so.
We're like, yeah, I guess so. We do, yeah.
Yeah, how is, obviously we are just about to go into our second lockdown, but how has the whole pandemic situation been for you guys as a band, as people and as a band?
I mean, as a person behind all the music, it's been incredibly challenging because I had kind of a quick series of very unfortunate events happen to me, and then I've had to deal with all of those feelings, being isolated and only living with Devin. And Devin's great, but there's only so much therapy he can give me. So that for me personally has been challenging. I mean, generally as a band, we didn't do anything while lockdown was really strict. And then once it kind of lifted and we were able to, we started to rehearse socially, distantly, and as safely as we could. And then we just managed to get the gig at the 1865. But yeah, I mean, like, how you personally, the pandemic, how's it affected you?
I mean, that's a long question, really, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's a short question with a long answer.
I'll focus more on the bad. Yeah, I think I was concerned. We'd had such like a powerful start as a band. When we did an EP in 6 months, we played Pride, like 3 different prides, a festival. We had loads of gigs, and things were going really well, and it was really exciting. And at this point, it was like, oh no, are we ever going to get that chance again? But then, we got this gig at the 1865, and then we got other opportunities out of that. Obviously, that's changed because of the lockdown, but it's kind of given me a bit of hope that I think everyone's on the same page of like, we're in the music scene, we're pausing it, we're not going to forget about people. And something that was really cool since, because the government's not being very nice towards the arts at the moment, is the sense of like togetherness when we played that gig, because like musicians, like we're all friendly to each other anyway, but it felt like something more kind of, because we're all being told that we're kind of worthless. So
like redundant, being called redundant,
yeah, exactly,
and it's like, well, watch this.
Yeah, I think, and I totally agree with that as well. From a band point of view, it feels like there's a stronger sense of community as musicians than I think I've ever felt before at gigs. There's a support for each other that I think has always been there, but it's just not quite as upfront as people seem to be now. People seem to be taking care of each other a little bit more at those kind of places. What about you, Lucy? How have you felt with the whole lockdown pandemic situation?
It's been a bit easier on my side. I work from home. Thankfully, my job is able to be done remotely, and I've worked from home before in other jobs. It's not been a big shift for me. So I've just been reading a lot of books, I guess, for playing a lot of video games. And regarding the band, as Beck and Devin said, we didn't do much during the height of the lockdown. So once we were able to rehearse a bit more, instead of focusing on trying to find gigs and trying to get back into that live scene, is knuckle down and work on new material and sort of plan for the future.
Yeah, do you think it's been in any way creatively beneficial for you guys to have this kind of time out of stuff? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I know a lot of my lockdown has been spent just because I play the guitar, and I've been getting back to the instrument, just playing a lot of hours, just playing, getting better, and just sort of rediscovering the instrument in a way, rather than having to like go into a new gig and play the same song, but just like reconnect with the instrument and then bringing that back to rehearsal and getting a new sense of life when I'm playing a song.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of makes you appreciate things a little bit more, doesn't it? What you have now. What about you, Matthew? How have you felt?
Pretty tricky. Like, I love being around other people, so that's the biggest thing for me. That's difficult. I think just we live in the centre of Southampton, and to be able to just go to the pub and just be around people, even if you're not interacting with them, is just really nice. So to be trapped indoors for another month, it's not brilliant, but luckily I'm trapped indoors with my wife, and that's been amazing. That actually we only got married a few weeks ago, but the fact we survived the first lockdown, I was like, yeah, this should work.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm so sad that we never got to play your wedding.
Yeah, we'll do a special wedding show for Matthew.
A wedding show.
We'll have to have like a celebration once this whole thing is eventually over. I know so many people who've had weddings cancelled this year, and they're just like, some of them have got married anyway, just like a few people, and they're just like, we'll do it after, we'll just have a massive party. And there's more time, isn't there? But that's what a lovely thing to come out of a horrible thing, is you getting married to your wife and realizing that you can stand each other, which
Do we have to get married?
You might, yeah. So for you, how your gig at the 1865 was the first gig that you'd played in a while then, is that right?
Yeah, since March 14th.
March, yeah.
How was it?
I spent the whole time in lockdown thinking, wow, all of this stuff that's happened to me has made me really sad, and I can't deal with that, and maybe I should go back to therapy. And, you know, always go back to therapy when you start thinking about going back to therapy. However, walking off of that stage that night, I was like, oh God, this is the thing. This is the thing that I've been missing, and this is why I have felt so like low and just so unmotivated. Walking off of that, but like Matthew said, like being around people again, especially in the music scene, and the sense of camaraderie that was like, just, yeah, it was amazing to get back, honestly. And I'm sad that, you know, we had a gig coming up at the Railway, but obviously, you know, to stay safe, we're not doing that. But like you've said, the fact that it's taken a pause rather than a stop is good, and it fills me with hope.
Because the people, you know, like the Railway want us to go and gig there, right? So
yeah,
you know, it's not like that's gone forever, but yeah, like the last gig that we did in March was at the Art House with Brasher, and that was like, I think that was our best performance physically. Like we were working on our stage presence and like what we actually did on stage rather than just playing what we're supposed to play, and we really like did it really well then. And I thought, oh, it's such a shame that we didn't get another chance to like really lock that down. But yeah, I think it, like, you know, we hadn't lost that whole thing at the 1865,
and it was a good gig, and I know that because I was there. So yeah, it was a good gig.
Thank you.
It didn't show that you guys have been stuck away from each other for so long, which was,
yeah, having watched it back a couple of times, like very tight, which is, you know, I was surprised, because it's all kind of, you know, when you play music, a lot of the time on stage is a fever dream. You black out while you're doing it, and then you walk off and you're like, wow, what did I just do for half an hour?
I've been wondering the same, Beck. I mean, just standing there doing.
Everyone else was playing.
like, talking about, obviously the 1865 was your first gig back. You had this one at the Railway booked in, which unfortunately is hopefully postponed rather than cancelled forever. But how important as a band are grassroots music venues for you guys?
I happen to be, I'm like a director of the art house in town as well.
Yes, I know.
So
that sounded really creepy. I'm so sorry. I know, for research purposes, not because I've stalked you.
So yeah, like, you know, that's a whole nother level, I guess, of like community that's kind of come together during this time, because we're all facing similar issues, and the like disparity of who got the government grant and who didn't and everything. And, you know, there's like I think like at the Joiners they say a lot as well, you know, bands that were smaller played there when they were smaller, and then they're huge. Like, you can't just suddenly appear at the O2 Arena if that's what you want to get to. You've got to like,
I've tried.
You've got to like find somewhere to hone your craft and grow like a fan base. And also it's, you know, it's stressful sometimes in the fact that you want to do a good show, but it's not like gonna kill you with stress. It's like a nice kind of, you know, I don't want to say low stakes, but it's not like playing a huge arena or something. It's like, you know, this is something that's like normal, and I'm not making any sense anymore.
I know what you mean. It's a safe space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those local venues where you're a band who plays there, you know, fairly regularly. You know the place, you know the staff, you know the manager, you know the sound guy. It's a place where you go and you're like, okay, I'm comfortable here. You've still got to perform to an audience, so there's still that kind of stressfulness, but you're in your place where you feel at home.
Yeah, you feel like you belong there. Like, you know, you're not out of place. Yeah.
And I feel that way at the Art House, and I feel that way at the 1865, because the sound guy Rich, who did our sound that night, has been doing sound for me at gigs since I like first started doing proper like solo gigs in 2015. So like, he knows how to EQ my voice, and like, it's just this comfortable thing where I don't have to tell him. So, and you're going to get that in grassroots venues because you've got recurring faces, whereas larger venues, you've got a higher turnover of staff, and that kind of sense of community, while it's still there, is just a little bit more disjointed and separate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's nice. I mean, it's lovely when you get a sound guy who knows you and knows how to make you sound really good. So that we love those sound guys, don't we?
Yeah, without Rich, it's awful. I sound awful.
No, not at all. But they do help us a little bit, don't they? So very grateful for them if we get a good one. How have you felt interacting with your audience throughout this? Because obviously without live gigs, that can be quite difficult.
It has been difficult. We're trying to get onto the social media presence thing going, and I'm sort of learning as I go with Instagram. I don't really understand it yet, but I'm getting there. Yeah, it's just difficult to try and have that back and forth through text on a computer screen. It's not the same as seeing them at the gig and chatting to them face to face.
Yeah, and music wise as well, do you feel like you've kind of lost a bit of that kind of intimacy between you and your audience? There's a bit of a disconnect through a computer screen, I feel. I don't know if you feel like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing about a band is we're here to make music and give our audience music. We're not able to do that, and we're not able to record new music with everything going on. We're going to try and do that early next year, but during the height of lockdown we couldn't, it wasn't something we could focus on primarily, so that was also difficult. But
yeah, what we were able to do, which maybe you may have seen in your research, we were able to include our fans that essentially committed to being fans, our underdog kids, to appear in our lockdown music video.
Yes.
So to have that involvement and feedback from them, that support was really great. So that's worked well. Again, another sort of mini benefit to come out of being trapped at home, forcing us to be creative in a different way.
And isn't that lovely that you can, while it's, like you say, forced you to be creative in a different way, it kind of allows you to be creative with your audience in a way that you might not have thought of doing if this whole thing hadn't happened.
It's kind of like the difference between specific criteria and an open-ended brief when you're doing some kind of artistic project. It's like sometimes it's really great to be able to do literally everything, but there are times when having that extra caveat or having that that obstruction in your path, it takes you out of your comfort zone, and it puts you into a place you never thought you'd be before, and gives you this opportunity to learn something new. Like the music video that we did for It Happens, because that was kind of like a farewell-ish to our older sound. It was really great to have fans involved in that. And it was also good because it meant it bridged the gap between, our sound and who we were as a band, this time last year, and who we are now. And obviously ramping up into wanting to make an album and getting our crowdfunder going. When we first started our crowdfunder, I honestly, before the gig at the 1865, I honestly thought that people wouldn't necessarily care anymore, because we haven't been able to speak to our fans. We've not had anything to tell them, And so when it came to launching the crowdfunder and the response that we've had, I'm amazed that people do care, and they care a lot, apparently, which is crazy to me, and it's really cool.
It was going to be my next question in terms of your next move and this crowdfunder that you have set up. Do you want to tell us a bit about where you're heading with it, and basically give yourselves a good old shout out for the crowdfunder?
So yeah, I've done a fair amount of fundraisers before through the art house and when I was at uni. And I follow people like Amanda Palmer and other artists who either have Patreon or crowdfund their projects. Actually, artists in Southampton as well, like March. And so I was like, it's possible. And also every time I've been involved in a fundraiser, I've been surprised at how successful it's been. So I thought, why not give it a shot? Because but we won't know if we don't try. So yeah, I mean, we've done really well. We've gotten to about 30%, 31%.
Yeah.
And that's been running. It's only been up a few days, isn't it?
Yeah,
3 days.
3 days. So I mean, like there's a spike at the beginning, and then there's a dip, and then there's a spike at the end. But like that is more than I thought that we would. Like it was like bam, sudden.
Yeah, you know.
And we were like, oh, we should probably do a crowdfunder video, like, and we only decided to do that on like Thursday or something, or maybe a bit later than that. And so I spent like 2 days just editing. And that was like really fun to do. It was really funny, and I think like more than anything, I want people to see the video.
Yeah.
You know, donating is cool too. But then yeah, so that sets us up to record, and it also will help us build this world that we're working towards with the album, because our like ethos is kind of like, well, we see what bands we like are doing, and you know, you think, when did they start doing that? And most of them started doing that from the very beginning. So we're like, you know, if that's what we want to end up doing, we should start doing it now. And it's kind of like, it's Beck's high big brain concept that happened with like his album pitch and everything a few months ago, and an inspirational speech he gave to us about, you know, that quote that I won't mess up. But yeah, it's like, it's a multimedia experience, I guess. However many people are going to experience it, who knows? But it's kind of like, next time we want to be even more successful, so we're going to know how to do that next time as well. Yeah. So it's a bit of a test run of that, but it's also like, if people enjoy that sort of thing, it's going to be there for them. And
yeah, because at the same time as launching our crowdfunder, we've also launched like an online puzzle scavenger hunt.
I'm so excited about it. Literally, like, oh, when I saw you doing it, I was like, yes. And I think I know what I'm looking for already, so I'm ready.
Brilliant.
I'm waiting.
Because here's the thing, I've had a couple of people ask me like, do I just do this? And I'm like, to be honest, I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
This one knows.
Yeah,
that's your big brain.
Yeah,
concept.
that's my big brain concept. Because I was putting ideas out to everyone, and I was like, actually, it's probably, I just need to start doing it.
Yeah.
And making it. And I've gone down some really strange rabbit holes, including, I don't really want to give anything away, but including some strange sort of like cult stuff based around noises. And
noises.
Yeah, around noises. Yeah, there's been some interesting research gone into.
Well, we were up at 1 a.m. so in our kitchen where we live, we have white cupboards that are like like they're sort of like varnished, so you know, pen will rub off them, so we use them as whiteboards. It's still in there now, so it's really good we can't have anyone around because they know everything. We've like mapped out what happens in the album world and what happens in the real world, and like just across our kitchen cupboards at 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, is it like a mind map?
It's
it's like
it's a timeline with like
it's
a whole like
a mind map geek. I love that.
We filmed it, and I will do a time lapse like at the end.
I get proper geeky about these things. Sorry, I love it. So exciting. It's awesome. So how are you guys feeling? I hate to ask it, but about going into this lockdown now.
I'm the most positive, I imagine, because there's going to be no change to my routine whatsoever. Like, I can't see anyone anyway. I only go out to the shops. I work from home, so my life will be much the same.
Yeah, I feel like we never left lockdown.
No, to me it hasn't finished.
For Christmas.
It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? It feels like we had kind of a little tiny snippet of a break in between where we got to go to a few gigs, but actually, you know, we've not really been out of it properly, have we? And it's a long time. Have you got any advice for people of how to get through that kind of stuff?
Well,
headphones. Yeah.
Say that again, Matthew, sorry.
You need some decent headphones. They need to, that's my one tip.
I reckon I don't know, how deep do you want me to get here?
I mean, it's up to you. That's entirely how deep you want to go.
I kind of get the impression that if you've been through something traumatic before, you've kind of got like a script to go through, and mainly it's just keep your head down, just take it day by day, and don't think too much about the future, because there's not really anything you can do about it. And also like maybe looking into, you know, the way, because like just this is happening to everyone's experiencing a trauma, whether they like know it or not. So looking into the way that could affect you, I mean, that makes you tired, it makes you forgetful, it makes you irritable, like your emotions go all over the place, and like maybe looking into where you're at with that. Like, have you accepted that this is happening? Are you in denial? Are you angry? And not even like trying to change it, but just be present with how you feel, and don't like beat yourself up about it, because this is unprecedented times, and there's no correct way to do it. Just be kind to yourself and to everyone else.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of external pressure. Like, I know lots of people during the first sort of, you know, full lockdown, lots of people who are like, well, you know, I'm happy to stay at home and I'm happy to work from home and not go to the shops and whatever. But the thing is my family member who I live with is just doing all of the things that they shouldn't be. So what is the point in me doing it? So I think during this time, and it seems like contradictory advice to sort of like say this, but when you're isolated in this kind of sort of situation, I think it is good to keep to yourself in a certain way of like, think about your morals and think about, are you doing the best you can do to keep people safe? Like, understanding that other people doing stuff it's not in your remit. You're going to get stressed about it. I've been stressed about it, but you can't do anything about it. And they teach you this thing called the worry tree in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is when you're anxious, you pose yourself a question. You say, this is what I'm anxious about. And then you say, can I do anything about it right now? If you say yes, then you put the steps in to make that change. And if you say no, then you have to give yourself permission to let it go. And sometimes it takes me 1 o'clock in the morning asking myself that several times before I'm calm, but it does help. And just focusing on what you can and cannot control and letting those things that you can't control go. It's a real big, like, brainy exercise, but it really does help.
Well, that's amazing. And I think every bit of advice we give to people, it doesn't work for everyone, but
absolutely.
Every bit of positive advice you can give to someone, it might help someone out there. So I think it's really important, and it's important that it comes from people like bands and artists and people who have the ability to really communicate with people on a level that, you know, politicians don't.
Yeah,
we are real.
We are real.
That's it. Well, guys, I think that's kind of covered pretty much everything that I wanted to ask. There's just one more thing I'm doing at the end of all my interviews. I'm doing a 2-minute challenge.
Oh no.
I know. I'm not sure quite how this is going to work with all 4 of you on Zoom, but we'll give it a go if you guys are up for it. Basically, you just answer however many questions you can answer in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Okay, at least we're not writing a song, because that would be very challenging. We've done it.
But I know, with Pam, you wrote
Pam from
Why don't we set up a system?
Yeah.
We'll go me, you, Lucy, Matthew, so that we don't overlap, right?
Yeah. Wait.
Is perfect.
Me, Lucy, Matthew.
Well, that's because it's on our screen. It's like that's
right. Okay, cool. We got this.
Okay, so Devon, Beck, Lucy, Matthew. We're going in that order. Your time starts now. Favorite band?
Muse.
Favorite venue?
Join us.
The best gig you've ever played?
Oh, that would be the Art House in March.
Biggest crowd you've ever had?
Southampton Pride.
Favorite band member?
Matthew.
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Oh, we lost our Instagram. I think we probably got like 107.
What's your favourite song ever?
Oh. Mm. Mm.
Come on, Lucy.
Electron by Adam Barnes.
What's your favourite of Hunting Hearts songs?
Answering Machine.
Oh.
How many instruments do you play?
Oh God, I don't know. Okay, bass, guitar, drums, keyboard.
They are the
ukulele.
instruments. How many?
5.
Who's the most annoying band member?
Me.
How many songs do you have?
15, 16.
The best band you've supported?
Martha.
Who writes the most songs?
Beck.
Describe the band in 3 words.
Really gay punk.
Who's your favourite singer?
Why do you give me the hardest questions?
Right.
Beck.
Favourite guitarist?
Lucy.
Favourite drummer?
Matthew.
Favourite bass player?
Me. No, Devin.
And that is 2 minutes.
Nice. Oh, that was so stressful.
Hard, isn't it? It's really hard. Let me just count you up.
Oh, we did it.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad.
Resume.
Yeah, we're putting that on our
We've got-
press packet.
We've got oh 9. 9's half of 80, isn't it?
9 is half of 80.
Yeah. We've got an average of 9 questions per minute.
Ooh.
To any interviewer.
I think I should do this with all the just speed interviews for everything from now on.
And as you've seen, we also offer on the spot therapy advice as well.
Yes. Well, guys, that is all I've got for you. Thank you so much for being with me. And it was absolutely lovely to see you guys. And I really hope that I can catch up with you when we're allowed out again into the world and get some music going. So yeah.
Thank you for talking
Thank
to
you
us.
very much.
Thanks.